Welcome back into a midweek episode of the Rounding Third Baseball Podcast. I'm Nick. We have Harrison. How are we doing tonight, Harrison? Trying to stay
Awesome. Love
dry?
it. Yeah, trying to stay dry. I love them. We've got some bonus podcast time, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Crazy stuff to talk about. A lot of things have gone down in just the last couple of days since we've been on Monday. So we'll kind of run down through this. If you're in the chat, definitely hit us up with how you feel your team's doing and all of that. So a lot to chew on right now. But before we get going, make sure that you follow and like us on Facebook. You can follow on Instagram. You can also subscribe on YouTube. You can, is it follow or subscribe on Rumble?
You would subscribe.
Okay, subscribe on Rumble. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. All right.
I know. With what's coming up, Nick, I may have to run over to our link to Dick's Sporting Goods, get a helmet, because there's a lot of stuff flying around right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So please do that, but go through our Facebook page. You can find our links there. You can buy anything from Dick's, MLB Shop, or Lids. The links bring you directly to the webpage, and we get a kickback from that. So all of that would be greatly appreciated. All right, jump right into the free agency right now. Here we go. Max Fried to the Yankees is kind of the big one. Obviously, another big one today. We'll get to that next. But since Monday, Max Fried, 8 years, $218 million. Good job for the Yankees getting Garrett Cole at number 2, getting some protection in that rotation. Yes, Luis Gil is turning out to be nice. He's a rookie. He's only going to get better, but we'll get to him in a little bit as well because rumors are flying around about him. The Red Sox reportedly not even close to this offer. And I don't even think this is a blow your socks off offer for him. Really, to be honest.
My initial reaction was $27 million a year for Max Fried seems like a really fair, good deal for the Yankees. I think if I had to guess, my gut says it's the years. 8 years, Max Fried has a track record. He's had some arm trouble, and 8 years is a lot to commit to a guy who's been durable-ish. And my guess is that's where the Red Sox fell short, is they were not going to give him the years.
Okay, I mean, and that's a very fair point. I mean, it's hard to give any pitcher nowadays more than a 4 or 5 year deal because everyone's going down with Tommy John, right? I mean, that's just the state of baseball right now.
Yeah, you sign an 8 year deal, and you figure you're probably going to get 6 seasons out of this guy because he's bound to miss 1 or 2 with arm injuries. And at the same time, he's also 30. He's about to he turns 31 just after the new year. You're talking about a left-handed pitcher who's going to be 39 at the end of this contract.
But the Yankees are so desperate to get a starter that they're like, you know what? Like, let's just pay him till he's 39 and call it a day. Because just like you said, knowing that they're not going to get the full life out of him for all 8 years, being as old as he is, the Yankees are so hard up for starting pitching, as are the Red Sox. But the Yankees are so hard up for starting pitching, they're gonna almost overpay to get him there.
Yeah, this guy, when healthy since 2020, I think it was, has the lowest ERA in all of baseball for starting pitchers. Max Fried, when healthy, which he's not like a Jacob deGrom who misses half of every season. He's a 26 to 28 start guy. He's going to miss a handful of starts, which I think in this day and age is not that bad. No. But at 31, it's not going to get better. This is probably a good contract for 5 years, and then probably a not so good contract for the final 4 or for the final 3. But this is a super talented, high-end left-handed pitcher who has done some pretty incredible things in his career and is a more than competent number 2 behind Garrett Cole.
Yep, absolutely. And from the opposite side. So you got Cole, Fried, Rodon, and Gil are your 4 main pitchers there. Yeah, you have Cortez. I don't know what they do with them. Stroman's on the block for the Yankees. They're trying to move him desperately.
They got to get rid of him.
Yeah. So
that's been a mess.
With this signing and everything else kind of going on in free agency, are the Red Sox completely out of touch with the free agent market? to me, they seem like they're missing the mark, and they've missed the mark the last 5 or 6 years on all the free agents. Are they just what's going on with them?
I think it goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago, which is the Red Sox do not have a good track record signing these long-term free agent contracts. Crawford, Sandoval, Sale, like you just keep going down the list. The Red Sox have missed on a lot of free agents. And in many cases, they made long commitments to free agents that didn't pan out. They're in the middle of this Trevor Story contract. This has not been a good contract either. Yoshida has not turned out to be who you thought he was going to be. I think the level of comfort the Red Sox have with these big free agent contracts is just not what it used to be. So I think they're cautious and conservative. And do I hate that approach as a fan? Sometimes, yeah. But I'd also hate to see them load up on free agents and get all excited to have it be one big bust like it was in 2019 when you were coming off the World Series win and all those guys fell apart. So it's a delicate balancing act that they're trying to follow. Are they out of touch with the market? I don't know if they're out of touch with the market, but I don't think they're as aggressive as other teams are proving to be, and because of that, they're falling behind.
Okay, that's fair. So let's pivot back to the Yankees right now. They obviously got their number 2 right here with Max Fried.
Huge move for them.
Huge, absolute glaring hole that they needed to plug up. This, and I still don't think they're done. I think they'll still go after another mid-tier. I mean, they've been in talks with Walker Buehler, so I mean, man, if he goes there, that would be a ridiculous rotation with just those 3.
And they've flirted with Ryan Flaherty for 2 years now. Like, are they going
Jack
to
Flaherty?
Ryan Flaherty. Sorry, wrong Flaherty. Jack Flaherty, not our main boy Ryan. They flirted with Jack Flaherty for 2 years now. Like, are they going to finally pull the trigger there and try to make a move? But the Yankees, keep in mind, they signed Rodon to be this number 2 left-handed stopper, and he's not been the same guy since that whole back thing when he first got there. So this is Plan B.
Yep. And where are the other holes do they need? Obviously missing out on Juan Soto. They probably need an outfielder here. So you got Teoscar, you got Santander, you have third base or second base open. I say both of those because you can move Jazz back to second and sign a Alex Bregman, trade for an Arenado. Or you just go out and re-sign Torres, who has been in the Bronx, has been there for you since he came up. What do the Yankees do from here? Where do you think they go?
Well, I mean, the Yankees have a left fielder if they believe that Dominguez is the guy. You got a center fielder in Judge, who you could argue maybe should move back to right. You definitely need a right fielder. That's clearly a gaping hole now. I actually think Jazz Chisholm hurts you less at third than he does at second because he's a little bit erratic. And at third base, it's less about reading it and more about reacting to it. So you need a second baseman. You need a first baseman. Because Rizzo's gone, and that's a wide open hole unless you think that Ben Rice is going to become that guy, which they tried that and it didn't go great. Limited tryout, and then pitching. The Red Sox, the Yankees still have a bullpen with some holes.
Yep.
They have a bullpen with question marks and some holes, and a starting rotation that you have. I would say at this point now you have 4 starters. And Stroman is kind of a question mark.
Yep.
You could do worse than Stroman in the 5 hole, but I think they're going to look for starting pitching. I think they're going to look to the bullpen, and I think it's right field, second base, first base. So basically the whole right side of the field.
Yeah. So they did re-sign Jonathan Loaizaga today. So he's signed for next year and then an option for 26. So that helps in the bullpen there.
Yeah. When is he due back?
I don't know. Yeah, because he was out for a little bit towards the end there, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's another guy who's had some kind of inconsistent, random health things.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think. Hey, what's up, Mikey? Good to see you back, buddy.
Yeah, good evening. Always good to see some folks come back by.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I think this Bregman sounds like this Bregman shoe is the next one to drop here because I got an alert today saying that he's going to be signing soon. What signing soon means, I don't know. It could be in 5 minutes. It could be, a week from now. I don't know. But it seems like it's between the Sox and the Yankees here. Like we said Monday night, I think it's going to be kind of a bidding war between those two.
Yeah, they're gonna run up against the same free agents. I mean, The Red Sox lost Fried to the Yankees. They're going to do battle for Bregman, it sounds like. I'm sure they're both calling on Teoscar and Santander. I'm sure they're both calling on Burns. I'm sure. I mean, like they've got to be in each other's way in so many ways.
Yeah.
This is like going back to the 90s, early 2000s when the Red Sox and Yankees did battle for every free agent. It was trying to trade for A-Rod and losing him, and going after Teixeira also. And there's just the constant battles for players.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of that this offseason, but the Red Sox definitely have more work to do than the Yankees, but the Yankees have clear holes. But the nice thing for the Yankees, the holes they have, there are very clear options to fill them.
Right. Yeah. There are pieces out there to be had to fill those.
And in most cases, there's multiple pieces. If you don't get one, you've got another one to go after.
Right. Before we move on, Mikey throws this in the chat. Rate this lineup, Harrison. So obviously there's a couple hypotheticals in there.
Oh, so you got Alonso and Arenado in that lineup, huh?
Yeah. So obviously he doesn't believe in Brett Beatty.
I think a lot of people are questioning Beatty.
Yep.
So you go Nimmo, Vientos, Soto, Lindor, Alonso, Arenado, McNeil, Alvarez, and Siri. I mean, that's a lineup that makes the playoffs and is probably is in the NLCS again. I don't think that's a lineup that necessarily beats the Braves or the Dodgers straight up, but I don't think they're far off.
I don't either, but I think the Mets are going to have the same if they roll out with the rotation that they have right now.
Yeah.
That's going to be like the Red Sox problem. They had no problem scoring runs. They had problems preventing them.
You're going to lose a bunch of 8-6 games with that lineup if you don't adjust the pitching. I think that lineup would probably be top 3 in the NL.
Agreed.
If you put together a really good rotation, you're a playoff team. And you're probably fighting. You're probably in the Final Four to get to the NLCS.
Yeah, Beatty being traded for a starting pitcher, I think that's a fair call. I think that's fair. The Mets they're not sold on Brett Beatty, and they need a starting pitcher. I don't hate that.
And I think the knock on Beatty is more in New York. I think that he is a great candidate for a fresh start somewhere else.
Yeah.
He came up to a lot of hype. He played well. Then he didn't. Then he did. Then he didn't. He's been sent down, brought back up, sent down. Like it's, he had a good stretch, but I think for a young guy like that, when you start getting benched and sent back and forth, it's challenging. And he's probably a guy who would benefit from a change of scenery. But I do think teams around the league would like to have him in their organization.
Agree. I also agree with your point about Arenado bouncing back on a contender. I think Arenado's at the point of his career where he can't carry a lineup by himself. He needs a little bit of protection. You look back the couple of years he's been in St. Louis, he's had a really good Paul Goldschmidt in front of him. And then when Goldschmidt started declining, you saw Arenado kind of decline a little bit because he was getting pitched too differently because Goldschmidt couldn't catch up to the fastball anymore. So I think you're right there with the Arenado for sure.
The only thing I'll say about Arenado, and I'm not saying this is necessarily like a knock, this is who he's become, but he has consistently for 4 years declined. Power numbers have come down. Slugging's come down. But interestingly enough, though, his average has gone up. So it's almost like the power is dropping, but he's actually picking up on the average side. So not necessarily a bad thing, but he's definitely been on a decline in terms of power. And that, he's 33. He'll be 34 when the season starts. A guy who's probably in the last few years of his career, most likely last 3 or 4 years of his career, probably. I'm not expecting a lot out of him. I think he's going to continue to be a 275 hitter. He'll maybe get you 20 home runs and drive in 80. Probably a 5 or 6 hitter in most lineups, but definitely a very serviceable, very good major leaguer, but not who he used to be. And that's been consistent the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Mariners have a lot of issues. They have a lot of work to do. but you're saying bringing Teoscar Hernandez back. I mean, they need something. They need at least 4 or 5 guys that can actually hit in that lineup. You can't just bank on a Julio and Cal Raleigh and hope that they come through with a home run and that's your offense for the game. With that pitching staff out there, they have to find a way to get some sort of offense in there.
I think the demise of Ty France certainly hurt them. They moved on from Kalenic as everybody else seems to want to do. They've had a tough go. They've had players they thought would fill holes that didn't. The Suarez trade we thought was weird at the time, but I don't know if I would say that worked out. But they can't find the right pieces to make that lineup go. And that ballpark is brutal. It's brutal to hit in beginning and end of the season. It's a big ballpark. It's, you're talking Pacific Northwest. That's heavy, thick, wet air. Ball does not travel that well. Like, that's a tough ballpark for power hitters, but the gaps are huge. You get some line drive hitters in that place and you'll light it up. Yep. They just can't seem to put it together though.
Yeah. All right.
These drop and drive fly ball guys they're bringing in to help out are not helping out.
No.
Like, you do not want drop and drive fly ball hitters in the Pacific Northwest where the ball doesn't carry in the thick air. That's just a terrible combination. That's why I think Pete Alonso is a great fit for them. And I think that he's the kind of guy who's got enough power he would be able to hit through that. But you would see his power numbers go down a little bit in that ballpark.
Yep. I agree. All right.
Yeah. John's right with us. Yeah. Let's get some line drive hitters in that lineup, a little bit of speed. Let's just put balls in gaps. Let's score from first and a double. Let's move the chains because that's what works. Like, you got to keep the merry-go-round spinning, and you don't have to do it with home runs.
No. And striking out 8 bajillion times doesn't help. And, I thought when they traded Suarez and they got rid of Teoscar Hernandez, or, they lost him to free agency or whatever, I was like, all right, they just eliminated 400 strikeouts out of their lineup with those 2 guys.
Yeah, you were all for it.
I mean, they did.
They did.
I was like, all right. I was like, here we go. Like, Mariners should be in pretty good shape, and then nothing. So, yeah, Steve, we said this too. 8 years for a pitcher, especially at this age, it definitely wouldn't do for Fried.
He's going to be 39 at the end.
Yeah. But you're not paying for, like you said, those last 2 or 3 years. You're paying him up front for the first 5 he's going to give you.
Yeah, this is a good deal for 4 or 5 years and a bad deal for 3 or 4 years.
Where do we think Christian Walker ends up? Ooh, man.
He's heavily rumored to the Yankees right now.
I know. I am a
heavily rumored.
The Diamondbacks are my second team. I watch them almost more than my Red Sox. I love everything the Diamondbacks are. I don't think he goes back. I think he does end up going to the Yankees. But
he'd be a great fit for them too.
Yep.
A balanced hitter, great defense.
Yeah. I was just going to say very balanced hitter. So, and can give you 30 bombs. So, and hits to all fields, and hitting in all fields in Yankee Stadium is huge.
He might hit 40 home runs there just because he's got some power to the opposite field.
Yeah. So that's where I think he goes. But all right. Garrett Crochet to the Red Sox for 4 prospects: catcher Kyle Teal, infielder Chase Meadroth, or however you pronounce that. This is one of the best names I've ever heard in my life. Right-handed pitcher Wilkelman Gonzalez.
And then you've not heard them talk about Wilkelman Gonzalez?
No, I have not.
I love it.
That's so great. Where was he in Portland or was he in Worcester last year?
He started in Portland and then got pulled up.
Wickelman. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's got some stuff.
That might be the name of my first kid, Wickelman. I just love that.
Yeah. I'm with you, Mikey. I like that package a lot for the White Sox.
Yeah, and we've talked about the White Sox the last 2 or 3 months since they've been going for the record. We've been talking about them. The only way that you're going to get out of this hole is to make moves like this.
Yep.
Right? Like, you have to build within. It's gonna take 5, 6, 7, 8 painful years until these kids develop. They get up and then they start getting competitive, and then you'll start drawing in better and better free agents, and not the Mike Talkmans that signed today. Like,
what's wrong with that?
We'll get to the White Sox in a little bit, but yeah, I agree. This is a great package for the White Sox.
Well, and let's break that down for a second. Kyle Teal is the Red Sox number 4 prospect. Montgomery is number 5. Meadroth is 11. Wickham and Gonzalez is 14. They took 4 of the Red Sox top 15 prospects in this trade. And Kyle Teal, so everybody but Montgomery is pretty close to Major League ready. Those guys are going to be on the Chicago White Sox at some point next year if they don't start the year there. I saw Kyle Teal play last year in Portland a few times before he got called up to Worcester. He is fantastic behind the plate, and he is a high average, high contact with some power catcher. He's a I hate to make this an analogy, but he's a Real Muto kind of guy. He's going to hit for some average, some power. He's going to be a really good catcher, very serviceable behind the plate. Pitchers like to throw to him. He is, to me, he's the piece that hurts the most because he was your catcher of the future. He was your next Jason Varitek, who was going to be there for the duration. But that is a massive package for the White Sox to get. And the Red Sox called a couple weeks ago. Price was too high. Price is still too high. But I think for the Red Sox, you lost out on Soto after making a big deal out of it. You have to do something big and bold. This is that. This deal only makes sense for the Red Sox if they then can sign Crochet to an extension. If you give all this away for 2 years of his service, then you have seriously set the organization back 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, and Crochet's open to talk extensions. Yeah. I think that was probably part of it. They're like, hey, you come here. You know, the White Sox probably said, like, whoever takes him, like, he wants an extension right away because he's had injury history. So he wants that insurance policy behind him. I like this, but again, it screams desperation for the Red Sox.
And right? That's exactly how you should read it. The Red Sox overreacted to the Soto situation, and they knew they needed to please the fan base. So they just emptied the minor league system for Crochet. And I will say, and I say this all the time, thank you, Chaim Bloom, for building a minor league system where you can now do this. Right. Because the Red Sox 5-6 years ago did not have the minor league system to pull off a trade like this. Chaim Bloom rebuilt it. And you're enjoying all the fruits of Chaim Bloom's labor now that he's gone. Yeah. And this is, I mean, Craig Breslow's got a cabinet full of studs to pull from and trade with.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't going to say like necessarily an overreaction of the Soto deal. I think it was kind of a long shot for the Red Sox to get him anyways. But this was to solely keep the fan base. Like the fan base was ready to riot. And they still kind of are borderline. Like they have their torches in hand and their pitchforks ready to go. They're just waiting to light the torch because we have been saying for years, why aren't we spending like a big market team? Why are we playing this like the Tampa Bay Rays when we're one of the richest organizations in the game? Like, what are we doing? Is this a big haul? Yes, but we need starting pitching very badly. And now you put him in that rotation with a young Brian Bayo who only gets better year after year. I know Cutter Crawford doesn't blow your socks off, but he was consistent last year. And he pitched really well for them.
He was good. Houck was.
And Houck, yep.
I mean, they both had great first halves, and then they kind of both like regressed to where they normally would be. But even then, like those are serviceable starters at the major league level.
Yes.
You got Richard Fitz, who's proven to have some stuff. You got Bayo. You've got Giolito coming back from injury. Like you have a respectable rotation now. You don't have a playoff rotation just yet, but you're a whole lot closer.
Yeah. And
Crochet's only 25 years old with a really bad injury history. This guy only had 73 career innings coming into last year out of the bullpen. But he's only 25 years old. He is a potential Cy Young candidate. And if he pitches like he did last year for the Red Sox, nobody's going to care what they gave up. If he comes in and gets hurt or doesn't pitch well, everybody's going to talk about how they got fleeced.
Yeah, agree. So the comment here about I wouldn't give up my field general of the future, like I do agree with that. But Marcelo Mayer and Roman Anthony are untouchables for the Red Sox organization. So I think in order for this to work, the White Sox were like, no, we need him or he doesn't come. And the Red Sox, again, are so desperate that they're like, all right, we have to do it. Like, we have to. Because as much as they're in on Burns, as much as they're in on Buehler, as much as they're in on all these guys, that's not a guarantee. But if you're telling me that all I have to give up is Kyle Teal to get Crochet and you say done deal, I have to do it. Because that's a more of a guarantee than putting a bid in for a free agent. So,
yeah.
Does it hurt? Yeah, it hurts a little bit, but I think they had to. They had to make this move.
Yeah, this moment. Like I said, this only hurts for the Red Sox if they cannot re-sign him and he's gone in 2 years and he does not pitch like he did last year. If he comes into town and he is an ace and they sign him for another 5 years and he's there for 7 and he pitches like a stud for those 7 years, nobody's going to care that these guys were in this trade. If he comes in and underperforms or gets hurt or he's gone in 2 years, people are going to be really mad that they gave up what they gave up. And it's going to hurt the first time you see Kyle Teal go to an All-Star game. But at the same time, if Crochet is a Cy Young candidate each year, you don't care.
Right. And I would say even like as tough as the Chris Sale deal was towards the end, he got us a World Series. So I think if this deal gets you a World Series, we don't care. Right. I mean, I think that's how you look at it from an organizational standpoint. Goodness.
Yeah.
If this trade gets me a World Series in 5 years, I don't care. Right.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty much how every team looks at it, to be honest. Like,
it is. And I think, you look back at the Sale trade and the Red Sox, gave up a ton of prospects in that deal, Moncada and Kopech, and really the White Sox got little to nothing out of those guys in all that time. So you never know what you're going to get. Again, these are prospects. They still have to develop. They still have to get to the major league level. They still have to play at that level. Doesn't mean they will. I think the difference is in the Sale trade is you were trading for an established ace.
Right.
With Crochet, you're trading for a guy who's had one good year, and you hope it's not a fluke.
Yeah.
But the stuff is really good.
Yeah, agree. So we're gonna stay with the Red Sox here. The rumors are flying around like crazy. So Bregman is, like I said, reportedly signing soon. Don't know when that is, but between the Red Sox, Astros, and Yankees, Astros said he's their number one priority, but he kind of fits with the Red Sox because you could put him at third or at second base. There's a huge hole at second base for the Red Sox, but you could put him at third, move Devers to first. There's a lot of wiggle room there. Nolan Arenado could be traded. Tristan Cassis, his name's been kind of floated around here and there. But Arenado, it's kind of the same thing. Put him at third or kind of platoon him with Devers a little bit and give Devers some time off the field and just let him DH and get Masataka Yoshida out of there. And then this one was the one that was kind of floated around this afternoon was Tristan Cassis or Willie Abreu. Those two names were kind of floated around to the Mariners for Luis Castillo. The Mariners came out and said the young guys are untouchable. Like, we're not partnering with George Kirby. We're not partnering with Brian Wu. We're not parting with Logan Gilbert. Like, those guys are staying. They're untouchable. But you can have Luis Castillo if you want. I would love him. But Alex Spear came out and said that that's pretty much squashed. Like, that's not going to happen. It's not a thing. But what way would you like to see the Red Sox go after this Crochet? I put signing, but trade.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of Luis Castillo coming to Boston would be fantastic. But he actually turns 32 years old tomorrow, so happy early birthday to Luis Castillo. And giving up Casas and Yoshida doesn't really hurt me that much. I love Casas. I think he's going to be a great first baseman. The Mariners could use him so badly. And I see that being a good trade for both sides, but I like seeing them go after Bregman or Arenado. Bregman gives you position flexibility, and he's a gamer. He's super competitive. I think the Red Sox fan base will accept him, given the trash can history. I don't think the Red Sox fan base will hold that against him. I like Arenado because he's a veteran. He's also got some position flexibility between third and first. I don't get the sense from the reports we've read that Devers would be happy to accept a move to first base. He views himself as a third baseman.
Yeah.
And he's an average, slightly below average third baseman. He's not killing you over there. But he's not Bregman Arenado. But, Bregman could play second. That would give you a pretty good infield with Bregman, Story, and Devers with Casas at first. Arenado could go to first. You'd have Devers. You'd have Story. You still have a second baseman. You got to finagle that a little bit. I like Bregman as door number one. Arenado as door number two. And Luis Castillo, I think we've decided, is probably a pipe dream. But I think the Red Sox need to aggressively go after Buehler or Flaherty to be your other pitcher to fill out that rotation. If you can get Bregman and you can get Flaherty or Buehler, I think you're in really good shape at that point. You can live with Yoshida if you had to at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. This Luis Castillo, it does kind of scream a 3-team trade, doesn't it? Because the Mariners need bats so badly that they would probably try to get bats back in the 3-team trade.
They have to.
So I agree with that, John.
You've got to turn Castillo into a couple bats.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And not just like average hitters. Like, you need some guys with some pop.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I also wouldn't mind an outfield signing. I wouldn't mind a Teoscar. I wouldn't mind a Santander, because what that does is that Cedon Rafaela can play anywhere on the diamond. So that him alone gives you some flexibility, right? Someone gets hurt, he's in the infield, he can play the outfield. He's ridiculous wherever he goes, wherever he plays. He's a better outfielder than an infielder. I'll give him that. But
he is, and he's electric in center field.
But if you're if you're gonna bring me a right-handed Teoscar Hernandez at Fenway Park that hits 35, possibly even 40 at Fenway, or Santander that hit 44 last year, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna figure it out. I'll put Rafael at second base and he'll be fine there.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
what, like you said, I think one more starter, I think, cements the rotation and probably pushes one of those guys back into the bullpen where the Red Sox need a little bit more help, because Aroldis Chapman isn't doing it.
No, I think Cutter Crawford has proven that out of the bullpen he can be very effective. Yeah. And he can give you a spot start. Like, he can do a lot for you. But I'm less worried about the outfield, because I really like the configuration of Duran, Rafaela, and Abreu out there. I think those three really, you get really good defense. All three of them produce at the plate. Duran really is becoming your kind of lead guy. Yeah. And then if you can get a guy like Bregman, all of a sudden now you're Bregman, Devers, Story, Casas in the infield, Wong behind the plate. Maybe Yoshida remains as the DH. Maybe you can find a trading partner and he goes. Or even if you end up bringing in Arenado and making some swaps there, like you could then bring Rafael into the infield if you had to. But I like the outfield configuration. I like adding Bregman into the mix. Yoshida as the DH doesn't break my heart. He can rotate through and give guys a day off. He's not so bad defensively that you can't put him out there at all. But the Red Sox are a better team if you get Bregman, add a starter, and I think you can then look at that lineup and say that's the lineup that's going to score a bunch of runs, and you finally get a pitching staff who's going to prevent a bunch of runs.
Yeah.
They're not done, though. They're going to need another bullpen arm or two.
Yes.
But those will be easier to come across than these sorts of pieces.
Yeah, and there's still some really good bullpen arms out there to be had. So
for sure.
I think they'll be all right there. So
yep.
All right. So here's the whole Nolan Arenado breakdown that we know of right now. So he will waive his no trade clause for the Padres, Dodgers, and Angels. Those are his wish list teams. That's where he would love to go. Phillies, Mets, and Red Sox, he would accept. Right. And then this bottom part, like, I can't remember the last time I've kind of heard this. It's probably done a lot, but the Cardinals gave permission to Arenado's agent to try to facilitate a trade. So they just told the agent, they're like, hey, you go call teams. Like, we're done trying to figure it out. Like, we need him gone. Can you help us out here? I don't remember the last time I've really heard a team do that. So that tells me that either
it doesn't happen a lot.
No, and that tells me either not a lot of teams are calling, there's no interest, or what? Like,
what this tells me is that it's Arenado pushing for the trade more than the team. And the team's basically saying, hey, we're not going to go shop you. We're happy if you stay. But if you can find us a good deal, we'll go find us a good deal and we'll listen. It sounds to me like this is much more coming from Arenado's camp than coming from the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are saying, look, fine, you go do your due diligence, go find us a good deal, we'll listen, but we're not going to expend the energy to try to shop you because we don't want to trade you. We don't feel like we have to.
Yeah, he's in the middle of an 8-year, $260 million contract. So that's an annual salary of 32.5. So that's also a big part of it.
Big number.
Yeah. To get an aging superstar.
For a guy who's been on the decline for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And this is not like a falling off of a cliff decline. Like I've gone from 40 to 36 to 30 to, I mean, like it's a slow decline, but it's still, he has faded the last 4 years.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the dude's still a Hall of Famer. 10 straight seasons of 30 and 100 and like all of that stuff. Like I'm not 10 Gold Gloves. Sorry. I think he had 6 straight seasons of 30 and 100. I mean, granted, 3 of those were in Colorado where he hit 47 home runs or something like that. But
he had, not counting 2020, he had 8 straight seasons of at least 30 home runs.
Okay. But then the 100 RBIs was, I think, 6 straight or something like that.
7.
Okay. But okay, still, whatever, splitting hairs. But I mean, the guy was consistent, very consistent, but we have seen, a little bit of a decline. $32.5 million is hard to trade unless the Cardinals are willing to eat money. I don't know if they are, but
I mean, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm willing to get less for him and have somebody take the whole contract.
Yeah.
Like, give me the flexibility. You take the money. I'll take less to get you to do that. It'll be fine.
Yep. Don't hate that. All right. This one kind of came out of left field for me, honestly. I know we talked about it briefly, I think Monday night, where like Kyle Tucker's name came up and Framber Valdez's name came up in trade rumors.
I'll take both.
Right. So
and you can have all of Worcester. Like you can just take all of them.
Yeah, you can just you can actually.
We won't even need them.
No, just take the organization. But yeah, so the Astros came out, I think, today and said the only way they would trade him to the Yankees is if they got Luis Gil in return. And then the latest rumors are Chicago. And Tucker would go to Chicago for Suzuki and Isaac Paredes. Paredes would absolutely destroy Minute Maid Park or whatever that
Daikin Park.
Down there. Is that what it is now?
Isn't it Daikin Park, the HVAC, the HVAC company?
I don't know, but we don't use that language on the show, Harrison. But yeah, I mean, he would just wear out the Crawford boxes there because I think I saw something. He was 3rd in the league in pulled ball percentage last year, so he would just wear out the Crawford boxes down there. But
yeah, he would.
But
yeah, Daikin Park. I'm right.
I think I do that if
you don't like that word, do you? You do not like calling it Daikin Park.
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird.
Daikin makes your wall-mounted heat pumps. That's what they do.
Cool.
They're a mechanical company.
Good for them. I would choose a different name.
Yeah,
but anyways,
I mean, you go from Minute Maid to yeah. Anyways, continue on.
Yeah. Anyways, do that. Like, how do you think that works out? I think the Cubs win that trade if that ever happens.
You would have to. I mean, if you get Kyle Tucker and you give up less than like the whole farm system, I think you win that trade. I mean, Kyle Tucker is the closest thing you've got to a second version of Juan Soto in the league. You're talking average power, stolen bases, which Soto doesn't give you. I mean, Kyle Tucker is, other than Yordan Alvarez, there's really not another hitter in baseball that I would take over Kyle Tucker, except for Juan Soto. Like
Right.
Tucker is an absolute machine and wears no batting gloves, which I think is amazing.
It's the best, man. I love it. Yeah,
Like if you told me right now, if you said right now the Red Sox have a shot at Kyle Tucker, I'd say great. You can have Marcelo Mayer, Roman Anthony. Who else do you want? Like I'll package them all up. You can have everybody. Take them all. And I can re-sign this guy to a 10-year deal or an 8-year deal, whatever makes the most sense. Yeah, I'll give you the whole farm system.
Yeah, I know. We were sitting here, Monday night trying to figure out like who is the next like really big free agent that is going to demand Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani type money. And we couldn't really think of one. And then like we get off and we're like, oh, duh. Like the two dudes in Houston, Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, we're like, oh yeah. Like, I mean, yeah,
Dude,
29 homers, 112 RBIs, 23 homers, 49.
In 78 games. He played 78 games last year and hit 23 home runs, drove in 49 runs, hit 289 in half a season.
Yep. Yeah. Lifetime 274 hitter. He can run.
Look at 2023. Hits 284, 29, 112, 30 stolen bases, 80 walks, and 92 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Like 37 doubles, 5 triples, 157 games played. Like he's not going to get Juan Soto money because he doesn't have quite the same flash as Juan Soto, but he's a better outfielder with a better arm that can run. Soto can't do any of those things. And he is minus on base percentage. He's like a mirror image of Soto.
Yeah. How did he get injured? Was he hit by a pitch or what?
I thought his was a knee or something, but
was it a knee?
I could be wrong.
It says right shin contusion. Maybe was it a break?
Oh, it was a fracture.
It was a fracture, yeah.
Yep. It was a fracture. So it was, okay. So not a knee, it was the shin he fractured.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Which is kind of a freaky injury.
Right. He probably fouled it off his shin and then that was that. But yeah, I mean, I would do this. If I'm the Yankees, I don't know. You just paid a huge contract to solidify your rotation with Max Fried.
Yeah, I remember this. He fouled that ball right down on his shin and basically couldn't stand up after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, if I'm the Yankees, I don't think I do this. As great as Kyle Tucker is and as great as he would be in Yankee Stadium wearing out those right field seats.
You want Luis Heel for Kyle Tucker? Done. Pack his bag, send him.
You would?
I'll give you Luis Heel. I'll give you Jason Dominguez. I mean, I want Kyle Tucker.
But again, the Yankees don't have a problem scoring runs. They have a problem preventing them. So giving up the rookie of the year.
I'll just go sign Burns. Whatever.
Okay. Whatever, Harrison.
I mean, if you're trying to replace Juan Soto, that's the only guy in the league that you can really kind of line up to Juan Soto.
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, he's the only. I mean, he is Juan Soto 2.0. Slightly lower on base percentage, not quite as much power, but basically the same player. But he also can run and throw and catch.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I do that. I would. That's a tough one for me. I don't know.
I would do it 7 days a week, twice on Sunday.
Okay. That would be.
I wouldn't even. I would give up if I'm the Red Sox. I would give up Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer. Who else do you want? You want Brian Bayo? Done. Here's the package. Send him.
Okay. Well, I think we're a little bit different on that one, but I don't know. But they're saying the Cubs are the front runners for that right now. Again, these are just all rumors. This hasn't happened.
He would freaking rake at Wrigley Field.
At Wrigley Field, yeah.
Freaking rake.
Especially, yeah. But you're getting a couple players back in that deal. You're getting 2 major league ready guys. If those are the 2 guys that the Cubs decide to send, because you're gonna have to get major league ready guys back for Kyle Tucker if this actually happens. So.
Yeah, so to give you an example, the last 4 years, Juan Soto's averaged about a 6 WAR. Kyle Tucker's averaged about a 5.5.
Okay, yeah, so he's like right behind him.
He's just a click behind Soto.
Yeah. So I don't know. That'd be the biggest trade since the Juan Soto from San Diego to the Yankees last offseason, obviously. I mean, although the Crochet one was pretty big for Red Sox fans, this one would be I would put this up with Blockbuster for sure.
Like the movie chain?
Yes, like
yeah.
I don't even know what that is, but that's fine.
All right. Half people listening don't know what that is.
Yeah, right. All right. So Rangers sign Nathan Eovaldi, stays in Texas 3 years, $75 million. These are 2024 stats, 29 games started, 12-8, 3.8 ERA, 166 Ks.
And I feel like that's a kind of an unfair stat line too, because he was so good for the first like 3 quarters of the season. And then that whole team just like imploded. Yeah. And he was, I think, just collateral damage in that.
Yeah, but I think he likes it there. You know, the Rangers got DeGrom coming back for, you know, at least a month. And then
for at least a month. Yeah. Not in a month, but for a month. I got
for a month.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Who else did they got John Gray in there? I don't know if he's a rotation guy or where he is now, but was Scherzer there? Well, no, Scherzer's not. He's a free agent. So I don't know. It's a good move for the Rangers, I think. He's a bulldog. He's going to go out. He's going to pitch his ass off every 5th day. I wish he came back to Boston. I loved him when he was in a Red Sox uniform.
He was great. I mean, so you look at the rotation now, and you've lost Scherzer, but you've still got DeGrom, who's going to be healthy, like you said, for a month. You got John Gray. Yeah, you got Tyler Mahle, who was pretty good in spurts. You got Kumar Rocker, who you don't know what you're going to get from him yet. You got Cody Bradford. Like, you've got 2 guys here on the south of 30 that are looking for spots in that rotation. Eovaldi's a nice addition to it.
Yeah.
And then, in your bullpen, you've got, I mean, you say they're in the bullpen, but you've got Jack Leiter, Dane Dunning, 2 guys that have shown, I mean, Jack Leiter will ultimately be a starter. Dane Dunning may end up there too. I mean, both guys can be starters, have been starters, and probably are long-term starters. You've got some arms, but Eovaldi gives you that veteran presence.
Yeah. Dunning was one of their most consistent pitchers down the stretch there.
He was.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, he had a tough season last year. The ERA shot up, and he kind of bounced between starting and the bullpen, and that has its own set of problems. But 29 years old, good stuff. He's made some big starts for you.
Yep. Yeah, and Andrew Heaney's that other flex guy, but he started a lot because of all the injuries too. So
you're Heaney,
right. He started 31 games for them last year, so pitched in 32. But again, another guy with an ERA north of 4. So I mean, I think now an ERA of below 4 is good. Honestly, I mean, with the offense is up, these guys are, sitting back, hitting the 3-run bombs. Like, an ERA of 4, under 4 is good. Yeah, and you're right, John. I think this was a must keep for Texas. Absolutely.
Yeah, he is your veteran bulldog, gritty guy that you need one of those guys.
Yeah. I think they overpaid for him to make sure he stayed in Texas. He wasn't going to get 25. He wasn't going to get $25 million a year on the open market. I don't think.
No. I was just going to say I feel like they paid a little bit more because they know him.
Yeah, they know him, and the kind of a desperation move. Like, we know what he can do. We know that he fits here. We need to pay him to make sure he stays.
Yeah, so. But like, take a quick little walk through that Rangers roster. Catcher, you got Heim, Higashioka backing him up. First base, you got Lowe with Berger and Duran. Second base, you got Simeon. Third base, you got Young. Shortstop, you got Corey Seager. Left field, you got Evan Carter. Center field, you've got,
Wyatt Langford.
Probably going to be Wyatt Langford playing center. Right field, you got Adolis Garcia, or maybe he's DHing and you play Leody Taveras in center and move these guys around. You just picked up Jake Berger. That's a lineup that's going to score some runs. And then you've got DeGrom, Eovaldi, Gray, Kumar Rocker, John Leiter, Dane Dunning, Cody Bradford. Like, that's a team that's probably going to be pretty good next year.
But they have to stay off the IL.
Well, that killed them last year. You lost Scherzer for most of the year. You lost DeGrom for most of the year. Like that team was never more than 80% healthy at any point during the season.
When you have to start the season, our preseason preview, we were like, all right, if the Rangers could hang on until mid-June, the end of June, and still be sort of towards the top of the division, and then they get everybody back, they should be okay. Well, they never got anybody back.
No, they kept pushing. They just kept pushing out when guys were coming back, and they treaded water for as long as they could. Yeah. And then they just couldn't do it any longer, and they just weren't getting anybody back.
Yeah, that was
our whole plan for them last year. You make the playoffs if you can literally just like stay at 500 and tread water until like June, July, and then that became like July, August, and it became like, well, it's late August.
Yeah,
it's like, well, gee, you can only do that for so long.
Right. DeGrom came up for what? 2 starts? 1 start at the end of the year? I know he pitched against Seattle, but I don't know if he pitched again. I know he had at least one start.
I feel like he made 2 or 3 starts.
It might have been. But yeah. But yeah, that was definitely a great signing for Texas. I mean, they needed that for sure.
And I agree with John. That was, you had to keep him. He was your bulldog. He's the one stable pitcher you had all of last year. And he was so good working with so little.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get over to the Blue Jays here.
So DeGrom, you got 3 starts out of him last year. He pitched 10 innings.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
He's pitched 100 innings since the start of 2022.
All right, we're done talking about DeGrom because he makes me mad. All right.
Oh, it's so sad.
That's what it is. I guess I'm not mad. It's just really sad.
So sad.
Yeah.
He's pitched 100 innings in 3 years.
Arguably one of the most talented pitchers in Major League history that we've ever seen, and the dude just can't. His body can't withstand his talent.
Yeah. Arm talent is like off the charts,
but his body can't handle it.
He just can't do it.
Crazy. All right. So Blue Jays re-sign. Yimi Garcia. I put in as like a disclaimer here. I was like, even though the signing doesn't move the needle much, it's showing that the Blue Jays are going to do what they can this offseason. They don't want to sell. Right. And it's been pretty apparent because it's been like, Corbin Burns, the Blue Jays are interested. Juan Soto, Blue Jays are interested. Are they making legit offers at these guys to get somebody in with Vladdy and Bo Bichette because they don't want to let him go? Or are they just kind of playing like the Red Sox game, like it has the last few years, like trying to keep the fan base happy? Are they legit trying to make a contender, or are they just choking the engine here until they trade Vladdy at the deadline?
I think the Blue Jays are legitimately trying to build a contender. Like, I go back and look at, they added George Springer, they brought in Gosman, they brought in Barrios. Like, they've made good moves, and they've done things to improve the team. I still believe, and I said this summer, I still believe the implosion of Alek Manoah is the one thing you can point to that has blown a hole in their team. Because he was your number 1 Cy Young contender ace. Yeah. They turned on the pitch clock and the dude fell apart. And that would be like, imagine the Astros having Framber Valdez just all of a sudden forget how to pitch. Like what kind of chaos that would cause to your team. I think the implosion of Manoah was really the biggest factor in this collapse. Yeah. They've still scored runs. They've actually pitched pretty well. The bullpen's been generally good, but they have not had that ace. Although Gosman at times has looked like he is an ace, they haven't quite recovered from that. And I don't think that's not something they were prepared for either. Like, they had committed to Manoah, they were ready to go, and then the dude just blew up. And he's likely done. Like this you're probably done with Alek Manoah. Just like that, as quick as he kind of went into the spotlight, he's gone. So I think the Blue Jays want to contend. They have the money to contend. I mean, they've made aggressive offers the last couple off seasons to a number of players, including this year to Juan Soto. They were in until the very end. I look at them. They're the American League San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
Like, they want to. They just haven't. And I go back to Toronto's probably not the easiest place to sell going to. It's the only team not in the United States. You're going to Canada. Toronto's a great city, but like, do you want to be in Toronto or do you want to be in Chicago or Boston or like, pick another big market? I feel like Toronto's not always the easiest sell.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up there, and it's still not quite enough to get people to want to go play up there. So I don't know. However, they did make this big trade. I mean, this is a great hitter, great fielder, platinum glove caliber defender. Andrés Giménez goes to the Blue Jays for Spencer Horwitz and Nick Sandlin. This is a great move for the Blue Jays.
I like this Blue Jays roster. And I will say the other part of this too is that Alejandro Kirk went from like an offensive weapon to an offensive liability, in 6 months. But you look around that infield, you've got Bo Bichette, Jimenez, Vladdy. I mean, you can't do a lot better than that around the diamond at those three positions. In the outfield, you've got Springer, you got Varsho, Loperfido's look good at times, but you've got some other young players that are kind of competing for playing time. And then pitching wise, you got, Bowden Francis was fantastic.
Yeah.
Last year. You still got Gausman, you got Berrios, you got Bassett. They need, and they still put Alek Manoah on the roster, but I kind of laugh at that. You have, if you can find a complimentary bat and another starting pitcher, that is a different team.
Yeah.
And they're not that far off. They just have to fix a couple things.
I look at that rotation on paper. You look at it
really good.
And you're like, all right, a couple of years ago when Berrios goes over at the deadline, then they get Gausman in the offseason, and then you get Bassett. And I'm like, all right, like the Blue Jays are putting it together here. And it doesn't seem like it clicks for whatever reason. Then you had that core, you had the legacy trio. You had Cavan Biggio, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero. Like, there was a lot of hype behind the Blue Jays, and they just have never lived up to it. And they just can't get over the hump, despite Vladdy having humongous seasons.
His season was so good last year, but most people didn't realize because the team was so bad.
Yeah, I just don't know where they go. Dalton Varsho is a platinum glove outfielder. The dude could just be out in the outfield by himself and track everything down. He's ridiculous. And George Springer's no slouch out there. So
no, but Springer's also, he's 35 now. Like,
right.
He's coming to the end. But like, you look at that roster, like your outfield should be Springer, Varsho, and Loperfido. That's pretty good. Your infield's going to be Jimenez, Bichette, Vladdy, and maybe Jimenez and Martinez. You could probably find a better third baseman, but it's hard to beat Bichette, Jimenez, and Guerrero as a shortstop, second, and first. You got Kirk behind the plate, who's should be better than he was last year. That pitching's not that bad. Like, I feel like they're only a piece or two away. Jimenez is a big one, but like, you find another pitcher and a bat, and that team's probably in the hunt again.
Yeah. I mean, I know you guys laughed me out of the podcast when we did our preseason predictions, but I was like, the hell with it. Like, let's put the Blue Jays in the wild card, because you look at, like I said, you look at that team on paper and you're like, this has to click at some point. This has to.
They should be better than that.
The law of baseball averages says that, like, this team's gonna find it and click. Why aren't they? I don't know. So I don't know what the issue there is. Is it the manager? Is it like, what's going on? I don't know. But
yeah, they should be better. And I think they've got to get real. Oh, this just came out. The Padres are currently open to listening on Cease, Arise, and Bogarts.
Yes, I saw that this afternoon. I didn't have
Wow.
time to throw it in, but yeah. Cease, Arise, and Bogarts. Imagine that. Arise goes and wins his 4th batting title with a 4th different team in 4 years.
That would be amazing. And the Yankees are now seriously pursuing Tucker and Bregman. They'd like to pick up both of them, wouldn't we all?
I almost want to see Bregman in New York just to see what their reaction is as Yankees fans.
Those fans are gonna hate him because the Yankees got directly hosed by that whole trash can thing.
Yeah, I agree, John. Like, it was crazy. We were sitting here like the beginning of last year looking at the AL Central, and we're like, man, like who's gonna win this division? We don't really know. And we kind of downplayed the AL Central, and they had 3 teams make the playoffs, and we're just like, oh shit, like our bad. But you're right. I think the AL definitely is up for grabs. You have your top couple teams, Baltimore, New York, that, and the Guardians, as they prove, are your top 3 there. The AL West, I think this year is wide open. I wouldn't be surprised to see the A's up there and the 3rd spot, the 2nd spot. I don't see him necessarily winning the division.
Yeah.
But that AL West is up for grabs, especially if the Astros are selling. Astros lose Bregman, and they trade away Tucker. Astros aren't going to be the Astros anymore. Sorry.
But, no, I mean, you've already begun to chip away at the foundation of that kind of dynasty where, like, Correa's gone, and now Verlander's gone. Bregman's possibly leaving. You might be looking to move Tucker. Really, it's all that's left from that core is Altuve.
Right.
Alvarez wasn't even part of the early part of it. He came on later. So Altuve might be the last man standing from that whole Astros run. That's the nature of the game. Eventually it turns over.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right. So in that Guardians Blue Jays deal, Spencer Horwitz got sent to the Guardians, and then he immediately gets flipped to the Pirates for starting pitcher Luis Ortiz. So Guardians beef up their starting rotation. They get another good young arm in there. I know Guardian fans are probably thinking Paul Scanes, but he's not going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, not bad. Nice little flip there for the Guardians to just get another arm in that rotation. Because as great as Shane Bieber can be, he's Jacob deGrom 2.0. We just don't know if he can stay on the field and finish the season. Unless it's 2020 and he only has to make 16 starts. Then he wins the Cy Young.
All he's got anyways.
Yeah. So
I like this trade. On the surface, you're going to go, yeah, okay, whatever. But it makes a lot of sense for both sides.
Yeah. 1,000%. All right. Back to the White Sox for a little bit here, Harrison. White Sox signed Mike Tauchman, $1.75 million. Yes, this isn't a big, sexy, splashy signing. But my question to you, are these the type of free agents the White Sox will sign for the next 5 to 6 to 7 years?
If I'm the White Sox and my plan is to rebuild from within, then yeah, I'm gonna fill all my roster spots that I can with young players and let them develop at the major league level. I'm going to make trades for anybody good to bring in more of those prospects. And I'm going to bring in so many prospects I can eventually flush out a starting, basically a roster from it. When you have a hole, you're going to plug it with these cheap veterans as placeholders. I mean, Mike Tauchman played in Korea 2 years ago.
Right.
This is he's a career 241 hitter. He was with the Cubs last year, 0.6 WAR player. Played 109 games. He's not a guy that's going to hurt you, but he's not really going to help you. He's basically an average player.
Dude, he's going to be the best player on the White Sox.
I mean, I think Kyle Teal's going to be the best player on the White Sox, but yeah,
actually,
I mean,
Luis Robert.
Hopefully Luis Robert actually wants to show up and play, and he'll be the best player. But, I mean, it's the nature of this kind of rebuild. You you dump a bunch of young guys in there, you plug holes with some cheap veterans until you find more young guys to fill them in, and then hopefully you look up in 3 or 4 years and you've got a decent roster that's competitive again.
That's another name I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard anything from this offseason, because his name came up a lot during the trade deadline. Like, they were looking to move Robert, they were looking to move Crochet, but I haven't heard Robert's name thrown around at all this offseason.
No, I mean there's been a couple of situations where like teams are calling about Luis Robert, but I don't think they're like Major League 4.
Yeah, Chi-Town grind. Love it. Yeah.
I like that. I mean, there's been some like random rumors, like the Reds. Yesterday, it was rumored the Reds had called about Luis Robert to see if he's available. I think the bigger ticket was Crochet. I think now that Crochet is gone, you will start hearing Luis Robert's name, because there's no sense in keeping him.
No.
Even if you can just get a couple of prospects, because keep in mind, like, Roberts had an interesting track record. He quit on that team a couple times last year and got benched for not running balls out and stuff like that. So, like, I don't know if he's going to be the most appealing player to go get, but he is super talented. He just has he's a bit of a head case. But teams will take a chance on that.
Yeah, when he burst onto the scene, we were looking at Mike Trout 2.0. We were thinking, like, this.
Oh, yeah.
He had a lot of the same tools that Trout had. I mean, obviously not the same caliber as Mike Trout, but just had those tools, had the speed, had the power, had the bat, had the fielding, had the arm,
and the injuries.
Right. So,
but in 23, he played 145 games, hit 38 home runs, drove in 80, and hit 264. Struck out 172 times. And stole 20 bases. I mean, he can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And, last year was a bad year for him. His batting average dropped 40 points. His power basically disappeared. But I don't think anybody gave a damn what was going on in Chicago for most of that season, because they were so bad.
No, and
I just don't hold that against him. That team was a train wreck and nobody cared.
Right. And when you're literally the only bat that can hurt you in that lineup, you're not going to see anything for pitches.
No,
you're not.
Nothing.
They're just going to pitch around you the whole time.
But Luis Robert is signed through next season. There's team options for 26 and 27. He would be very tradable. You'd have 1 year plus 2 options. You'd have 3 years of control. I think now that Crochet is gone, they're going to turn their focus to trading Robert. They won't get as big a package as they do for Crochet, obviously, but if you can turn him into a couple of prospects, so you could land 6 fresh prospects out of those 2 players, that speeds up the rebuild.
Yep, 1,000%. So, all right. Rockies get into the free agent fold here. They signed Tyro Estrada.
Rockies did that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. 1 year, $3.5 million. So that's their entire payroll for 2025.
Yep. They're done.
Yep. So, I mean, good for him. Estrada's a nice little player. He'll, battle away for last place in the NL West there. So, not much there, because it's the Rockies. I want them to be relevant again, but it's not going to happen with all the superstars signing in the NL West now. So,
and Estrada had a really tough year last year. He was pretty good otherwise the last couple years before that. He's a nice little piece.
Yeah.
But until the Rockies can dump that Chris Bryant contract, they're kind of stuck. They're kind of trapped where they're at.
Agreed.
And Chris Bryant has how many more years left on that bad boy?
14, I think.
Yeah, he's a free agent after the 2028 season. So
yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah, we're still 5 years in, or what is it?
Yeah.
25, 26, 27. Yeah, 4 more years left.
Yeah. I mean, I was
kidding. 3 years into a 7-year deal.
I was kidding with 14, but
it's going to feel like
it wasn't. Yeah. No, I wasn't.
Boy, it's going to feel like it.
God, that's brutal.
So let's recap. He's played 122, played 159 games in 3 seasons for the Colorado Rockies, and he's been a negative 1.3 WAR in that time.
That might be one of the worst signings ever. I mean, that's right up there with Pablo Sandoval, Carl Crawford, like free agent signings. That one's bad.
And like the thing is, you didn't necessarily see that coming. This is a guy who played 147 games. He played half of the 2020 season. He played 144, and then all of a sudden it was 42, 80, and 37.
He won the MVP in 2016.
I know.
I mean, yeah.
Like, this is not a guy who you expect to see that. I mean, he's played 151, 155, 151, 102, 147, 34 in 2020, 144 in 21, and then it was 42, 80, 37.
Yeah.
There's nothing in that says this is a guy who's going to just have his whole body blow up.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Laughing all the way to the bank. He doesn't care.
No, I mean, it's the dude signed a 7-year contract for 182, and he hasn't had to earn a nickel of it.
No.
But at the same time, he's missed his age 30, 31, and 32 seasons, his prime years. That's got to be frustrating. To lose that, especially because it's been like dumb injuries.
Yeah. And a hitter-friendly ballpark too.
Oh man, he would be raking in that place. He is your prototypical drop and drive lift kind of guy. He would be raking there.
Yeah. All right. Yikes. This is the last one I got. I'm sure we'll touch on some other things, but Jake Burger traded from Miami to Texas. The Marlins get 3 more prospects to add to their trade deadline haul last season. So if you remember at the deadline, Marlins sold everybody, Rays sold everybody, and it was just like prospects. So ultimately, that's why Schumacher was like, I'm out. Like, you guys don't want to win now. I'm done. So the Marlins get 3 more prospects for Jake Burger. I was going to bring him up. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Anthony Rendon has learned.
I think the difference is Bryant wants to play. I don't think Rendon actually cares.
No.
And I will say what they make on an annual basis is slightly different. You're paying $26 million to Chris Bryant. You're $38 million to Rendon next year.
Yeah.
But it's just a job for Rendon.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad. It's just a job.
Yeah. So Burger to the Rangers, 3 more prospects. The Marlins are going to win the World Series in 2029. I'm already calling it.
Well, we said it last year's trade deadline. Yeah. We said on the show, the winner of the trade deadline last year was the Marlins.
Yeah.
They fleeced the Orioles for a bunch of top prospects.
Connor Norby's going to start for them next year for sure.
Like they now have so many prospects and like high level prospects that like I feel like the Marlins won the trade deadline last year. This Burger trade is good for both sides. This is going to help Texas with some depth. It's going to give the Marlins more prospects. Like, yeah, I think that Marlins team in 3 or 4 years is going to be really friggin' good when all these players develop. I mean, look out.
I just didn't think he would demand 3 prospects. Like Jake Burger is all right. He's a serviceable MLB player, but 3 prospects? Like I don't know what level of prospects they were, but
yeah, still. I don't think they've shared who went in that deal.
Yeah, I don't know, but 3, I wouldn't have thought that it would have taken 3 to get him away.
Here's my take on the Burger trade. Oh, here it is. The Marlins got Echetti Vargas, Max Acosta, and Brian Mendoza. So 2 middle infielders and a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, my take on the Burger trade is the Rangers last year had very inconsistent offense because they had very inconsistent, availability. When you add a guy like Burger, when Josh Young misses a month, inevitably, when Nathaniel Lowe misses a month, inevitably, when Seager's missing time, you've now got a guy in the order who can hit, who you can move around and try to pick up some of that slack. He is a vital, vital, vital depth piece for them, knowing that they do not have the most reliable group of key players out there.
Yeah.
So I think in many ways, Texas overpaid for him because they desperately need that other guy to pick up some slack. And Burger can DH. He can move around the field. I like this move for Texas a lot because he's some thump that's kind of part insurance policy, part platoon player. and gives them some comfort that when somebody goes down, which they will, you've got somebody who can pick up some slack.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Yeah, Vlad Jr. is going to end up there. I'm calling it now. So I think if the Blue Jays leave this offseason not being able to sign any other free agents or make any more key trades, like Andres Gimenez is a huge step in the right direction.
Big time.
But if they don't do anything else, I think the Blue Jays just completely tear down come the deadline, and they'll get whatever they can for Vlad Jr. I mean, we've been kind of calling for them to tear it down for the last couple of years here, to be honest, because we're like,
it's been overdue.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's not a bad prediction there. So, yeah.
No, I think that Jesus, if Vlad was available, I can't imagine there's any team in baseball that wouldn't line up to find out more about what it would take to get him.
Yeah.
Teams like the Mariners, teams like the Cardinals, teams like maybe the Rangers, because you could deal away a guy like Lowe and be fine with it.
Yeah.
I mean, so many teams would be in on Vladdy. He is a generational talent.
Yeah. So some other things that have kind of come out since, this afternoon and since we've been on, the Mets are open to paying down part of Starling Marte's contract because, it's just money and Steve Cohen doesn't care.
That's the one thing he's got plenty of.
Right. So now, with the signing of Juan Soto, Starling Marte kind of loses his spot. Right. So,
I mean, yeah,
we're gonna trade and see if we can get another, mid-tier starting pitcher for him, and
what do you think Marte brings you in the trade?
I don't know. Does he get you some bullpen arm? Does he get you a mid-level prospect, a couple mid-level prospects? I don't know what he would demand, to be honest. Again, I think it depends on the desperation of the team that is willing to deal.
I just don't think he's a super valuable guy.
Not like he was.
Yeah, I mean, he played 120 games in 21, 118 in 22, 86 in 23, 94 in 24, 132 in 19. Like, this is not a guy that's on the field a lot. Yeah. And his numbers have consistently declined. But he's one of those guys that just teases you with talent. But he's also 35 now. Yeah, you've been waiting for him to for it to all click for him, and he's now 35, and the window's closed.
Yeah. Nick Pivetta has met with the Phillies. He's met with the Reds. So be interesting to see where he kind of signs. He's another one of those mid-level arms that will go out. He'll give you consistent starts. He'll be around a 4 ERA. He'll have some starts where he looks unhittable, and then he'll have other starts where it's here, let's put it on a tee for you. So, I mean, not a big splash, but we'll see where he kind of ends up.
Yeah, and for him, it's always been he gives up too many home runs. He walks a fair amount of guys, but he's just so wildly inconsistent. Yeah. ERA wise, the problem with him is you're right. He's going to go out there and give up 2 runs over 7, then give up friggin' 6 over 4. And you're just like, what happened? You did the same thing and it didn't work.
Yeah. The Reds have also, like you already said, Luis Robert Jr., they have called and checked on Josh Naylor, and they've also checked on Lane Thomas. So
interesting. So the Reds are potentially more active than expected.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
I like seeing more of these teams in it.
I do too. And I think the trades is where you have those mid-level markets have to make their moves because they can't compete in the free agency. So they have to get creative with these trades. And the Reds have the prospects. They got 4 back from the Mariners when they traded away Castillo. Yeah. Neove Marte was one of them. Then that dude got suspended for drug use. But they have some prospects that they could ship out to get, arms or players that they need now. So,
did you see this trade, Nick, from a couple hours ago? The Red Sox acquired Carlos Narvaez from the New York Yankees
I did.
For
Yeah.
Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, their number 13 prospect, and international bonus pool space. So they're picking up Narvaez, my guess is, to fill the hole that Kyle Teal might serve as the kind of future backup catcher.
Yep. And they DFA'd Valdez.
Yeah, and Manuel Valdez,
Yeah.
which just means he'll clear waivers and go to the minors.
Yeah. Right.
Red Sox and Yankees making a trade. You don't see that very often.
No. Absolutely not. But last thing that I kind of have is Roki Sasaki can start getting offers now. And it seems that the West Coast isn't a sure thing like it was, initially reported. They were saying that he was going to mostly stay on the West Coast, but he is open to going to a smaller market team, kind of like how when Ohtani came over and signed with the Angels. So he is open to all the teams. But ideally, I still see him. It's Padres or Dodgers. I think it's between those two.
I mean,
that's what my gut says.
It feels like that's where he's going to end up, but I like the fact that he's open. He's going to listen to everybody because I think it's important that he goes and picks the right fit for him, not just the one that feels the most comfortable because he knows the guys that are there.
Yep. Nationals are in on Gleyber Torres at third base there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But as a third baseman, is that really the best spot for him?
I don't know. I
mean, Torres can probably play anywhere. The only issue with Torres is that he gets lazy on defense.
Can be, yeah.
He can be a little lackadaisical out there at times and kind of just goes through the motions.
So we haven't really talked much about Corbin Burnes tonight, Harrison. With everything that's come out the last few days, where do you feel he's going to end up?
So according to sources from a few hours ago, the belief is that the Blue Jays are now the favorites for Burnes. The Blue Jays have been aggressively pursuing him and talking to him over the last week or so. The Red Sox are believed to now be out on Burnes after the Crochet trade. And the only other team that sounds like is really in on him right now is the Giants.
That's so the
belief right now is that the Blue Jays are the front runners and have been the most aggressive to land him kind of all along.
However, things change on a dime because there was 2 days during the whole Juan Soto, chase, if you want to call it that the Blue Jays were the front runners there too. So
right.
He is a California boy, I've heard, and that's why San Francisco's kind of on the table, I guess, for him. I don't think the Red Sox are out here. I think with the Crochet deal, it makes it a little bit more intriguing for Corbin Burnes. If the Red Sox want to sign me, I having him behind me, I think is intriguing.
Yeah. Well, and the report from Alex Spear and Sean McAdam about the Red Sox has been basically the fact that they're not out on Burnes, but they're hesitant to spend what they think it's going to take. So they're more likely to be less cautious, aggressive in the pursuit, but not necessarily give
cautious.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like they've been. They're not gonna make the biggest offer, but they're gonna try to paint him a picture of why he should go there. Yeah. It sounds like the Blue Jays are prepared to make him the biggest offer, just pay him the most money to try to get him to come, because the Blue Jays have money. This is owned by the owners of Rogers Telecom. They've got plenty of money up there. They just need somebody that's going to take it.
Right.
And
I mean, I'll go up there and take it.
They can pay him what he wants. And I think the Red Sox could too. I just don't think I think they're going to hold some back in hopes of being able to sign Crochet to an extension, keep some flexibility. And I don't think you don't have to go get Burnes now where you got Crochet. You can go get Buehler or Flaherty and feel pretty good. Would it be nice to have Burnes? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you don't have to overpay for him now.
Right.
And it sounds like the Blue Jays are prepared to overpay for him.
Yeah. Listen, John, the Mets are in on everybody. It wouldn't surprise me if the rest of the free agents just sign with the Mets because Cohen has the unlimited cash flow. So I'm never counting the Mets out. I mean, the whole free agent prediction show for us, we should have just rotated Mets and Dodgers across the entire board because we would have gotten most of it right. But if I take the Mets, Harrison has to take the Dodgers and vice versa. Because I mean, that's just what it's turning out to be. But
I will say, I want to say it was SNY or somebody today came out and basically said the Mets were never really in on Fried, and they really haven't been in on Burns.
Yeah, they're looking at more of the mid-level guys.
Yeah,
so they've checked in with.
Yeah, one of the big rumors right now is that they've been talking to Minaya about a reunion.
Yeah.
They've been talking to Flaherty. They've been talking to Buehler. The Mets are not really in on the top tier pitchers. They're in on everybody else.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, kind of makes sense, I guess. But I feel like fans saw Soto. They expected like another splash behind it, and they may not quite get that. But at the same time, I wouldn't count them out because they could.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I honestly don't have a gut feeling about Burns. It's been eerily quiet on his front, to be completely honest. Like out of the whole free agency, you haven't heard that much about him. And like what his intentions are. Does he go back to Baltimore? That everyone was thinking that was going to be the case for quite a while, but that's kind of just faded into the background. And I haven't really heard much about him. So I was just wondering if you had a gut. If you had to pick right now, you think the Blue Jays end up landing him?
Honestly, I still think that he ends up back in Baltimore.
Okay.
I don't think the Orioles are out. I think Boris is shopping him to everybody else to be able to establish a market price to go back to Baltimore and say, hey, here's the number. You can give it to him or you can go get it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because as of a few hours ago, Scott Boras was basically saying Corbin Burns would still like to come back to Baltimore. He liked it there. Now that's also agent speak for, hey, he'd like to go there, make him an offer. But I think part of the delay in Corbin Burns is twofold. One, Boris was busy with Soto. And then two, I think he's finding the market for Burns to go back to Baltimore and see what they think.
No.
But I think the Blue Jays are prepared to overpay, and that may throw this whole thing into disarray.
Yeah. And then Anthony Santander. We got, who are we in there? Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays. Again, AL East competition here.
Yeah.
Maybe the Blue Jays overpay for him. But then again, do you put him in place of Loperfido? And then you got Springer, Varsho, and Santander in that outfield. Guy gets you 40 home runs a year, 35 at least. But what is he worth at this point? Right? Because he's towards the end ish, right?
I mean,
he's 31, 32.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. He is 30. He'll be 31. Oh no, he just turned 30. All right, he just turned 30.
Okay, so not terrible. So he's
in the prime. So you're gonna get kind of probably his best 3 or 4 years right here. I think he's got value. He
does.
He's got some defensive flexibility. He's not a guy that like can't play defense or he can't move. He's got pop. He hits for an okay average. He's a 246 lifetime hitter. He's going to hit you. He's going to be a 250 hitter on the high end. Yeah, with some power.
Yeah. Man, I don't know.
He's a tough fit for me because he's good. He's solid. And I just think that his expectation is going to be to get paid more than he probably is going to be offered. Because he's not separated himself enough from like everybody else to be like, oh man, like we got to have Santander. It's like, well, I could have him or 5 other guys. Like, what's the real value here?
Yeah.
And I think until Teoscar's off the board, one of those guys has to go to help the other guy. Because I think they're all talking to the same teams.
Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree with this point, McDougal. Red Sox gave up a ransom for Crochet. They did and it screamed desperation. We've talked about it. Red Sox are nickel and diming us again. Or it's not again, buddy. It's still. They're not going to dish out the money. I agree. Spend it. Go get burned. Stop spending it on racing and golf, dude. Just go get us a pitcher for crying out loud. I agree with you fully. I'm with you, 1,000%. And John, 250, 240 is the new 300. That's hit the nail right on the head. It is. You'll take a guy that hits 245 with 45 bombs and 110 RBIs. You'll take that in today's game.
Yep.
Because that 247, that's all his hits are home runs, and you'll take that. That's just how the game is now. But I don't know. Does Soto's deal affect Teoscar and Santander's overall contract?
Does
it affect it?
I mean, it may help them a little bit, but I think ultimately their value is their value. I think ultimately it's going to be about who, which teams are most desperate to make a move, and what does the other guy do? So, there's talk right now that the Red Sox are talking to Teoscar Hernandez and Anthony Santander, but they prefer Teoscar for a couple of reasons. The Yankees prefer Santander for a couple of reasons. So maybe these guys naturally just gravitate to different groups. Maybe they end up talking to all the same teams, and now it's a matter of who blinks first. I think Santander and Teoscar are very much kind of the same player. For the most part, and you could interchange them.
I think Teoscar Hernandez would absolutely fit better in the Boston lineup because he's a right-handed bat. You have left-handed bats up and down that lineup. You got Duran, Devers, Cassis, Abreu, Yoshida. Everyone hits left-handed in that lineup. When you have a wall that's 280 feet away, why? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, Teoscar's a lift kind of guy too. A lot of fly balls. So
put him in that lineup.
And it makes sense. The Red Sox like Teoscar over Santander. I view those two guys. They're kind of 1A, 1B for outfielders that are left. They're going to fit teams differently. I think they're both going to get paid.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to be looking at crazy contracts, and they're probably both looking at 4 or 5 year deals. That probably probably get them into the 9-figure range. Probably both break 100. But it's going to take a 5, maybe a 6-year deal to get there.
Yeah. All right.
Because neither one of these guys is getting a 10-year deal or is going to expect it.
No. Is there anybody else that I'm missing that you have seen or heard?
I think the only other thing worth mentioning we talked about on Monday is the fact that interest for Cody Bellinger in a trade is picking up. And that is the other part of the Teoscar Hernandez Santander situation, is if Bellinger's available in a trade, he may be a more affordable option than to have to sign these guys to a overpriced contract.
Yeah, and the Yankees are rumored to be the kind of front runner for making that deal, I believe.
Yeah, because again, left-handed bat, like at Yankee Stadium. In a perfect world, the Yankees are going to be looking for a left-handed power-hitting right fielder. The Red Sox did a right-handed power-hitting outfielder. They likely aren't going to end up looking at the same players. They're talking to all of them right now at the same time, but they're likely not going to end up targeting the same player.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see which way the Yankees want to go, though, because if you trade for Bellinger, then you're most likely out on Santander and Teoscar. I mean, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe you're not. You got Dominguez, Judge, and Bellinger. You're done in the outfield.
Yeah, but then you DH one of them, maybe. I don't know, but
one player in all this that's out there, that nobody's talking about is Verdugo. What becomes of him?
I don't know. My guess was the Astros, just because I had nothing else to go on. But it's look to me that almost makes sense. If Kyle Tucker ends up getting moved, they're gonna have a hole, and he's not going to demand that much money.
I mean, he can. I mean, he did not have a good season. Did not have a good end in Boston.
No.
There's rumors that like the White Sox are kicking the tires on bringing him in. Is come in for a year. This can be your kind of retribution tour, your redemption tour, and you can go back out.
Yeah. I mean,
but there's not, all indications are Verdugo and his agent have contacted the Yankees because he'd like to return. The Yankees basically said, "No, we're good." And he's looking for a home.
Yep.
But this was a guy a couple of years ago that like was considered to be a big piece of the Red Sox future, and his time there ended badly. Went to New York, did not have a great season there, and they're happy to let him go. And now he's out there floating around.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Jared. Let's see. Because the other name is Jurickson Profar.
Yeah, there's also been very little on him so far.
It says here, this is, when was this? Oh, that was at the beginning of the year. So this article's old. So I haven't heard anything on him.
Yeah, and Profar is tough because like really it's been one season.
Yeah, it was the season to have it too. This one.
I mean, yeah. Otherwise, he's been pretty average. I mean, in 11 years, he's an 8.4 WAR total. So he's basically just more than a run a season.
Yep.
He was a negative WAR in 23. Like,
yeah.
I just, Profar is one of the guys. He's had one good season. He's 32, and I just think he's, there's Teoscar and Santander, and then below that there's Profar.
Yeah.
And I think that Profar is hoping to land somewhere with maybe a 3-year deal. Maybe he makes, gets $45 million out of that deal, and he's somebody's outfielder, and then he's probably gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if you give him that kind of money given the fact that it's been 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you do with him. It's a hard one.
I mean, he had a decent season in 22. Otherwise, that's it. 22 was okay. 23 was a disaster. 24 was good.
Yeah.
But like way off of his historical norms.
Yeah, that's kind of it's a
wicked outlier season.
Yeah.
So like I feel like you haven't heard much about Profar because I don't think there's a big market for him. I think he's looking at a 3-year deal somewhere. Maybe he's lucky and gets 10 to 15 million bucks a year because somebody believes he can do this again. But ask the Cubs how that worked out with Bellinger.
Right. So reading an article right now that the Nationals might be in on Pete Alonso as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So, they have a young core coming up. They're looking to kind of build around them. The GM says it's, quote, time to hit the gas. So, I mean, I don't know if Alonso goes there. I think he ultimately goes back to the Mets. I mean, you just brought in I think the best overall hitter in baseball. I think he goes back to the Mets. But,
yeah.
and maybe I think that's why Cohen's bringing in all these mid-level arms to try to save a little bit of dough to offer Pete Alonso.
Yeah, and I think that Alonso, Sports Illustrated wrote an article earlier today that Alonso is just not getting a lot of interest in free agency. And I think that's for a couple reasons. One, I think a lot of people believe he's just going to wait to go back to the Mets. And I think a lot of people look at his numbers and the fact that he had the second worst batting average on high velocity fastballs. And they're going, well, this dude's a ticking time bomb. And he's going to just not, he's going to wake up one morning and just not hit anymore.
Yeah.
And then now, now there's some talk that he's got some meetings lined up and maybe his market's coming back. But I don't know what to do with Pete Alonso. Like, I hate to say it, but like, I don't get excited about Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
Like, he's a guy I look at and go, yeah, I mean, Pete's great. Like, I mean, hell, the guy plays every day. I give him credit for that. But like, it's too many strikeouts, too low a batting average. He can't hit the fastball anymore. I just don't know what you do with him. And he's 30. Like, you're beginning to creep to the wrong side.
So John Heyman said today on Bleacher Report that he wouldn't be surprised if the Diamondbacks come in and swoop Alonso off his feet because they've been ultra quiet.
And they may be able to get him for cheaper than they thought because his market's just not materializing.
Yeah. And I mean, chances are he's going to go there because every star goes to the NL West. So we'll lose another East Coast superstar to the NL West. But
yeah, Pete Alonso, he's a lot of strikeouts, low batting average, below average defense. Can't hit the fastball anymore, but he has some pop. Like, he's kind of he's in a unique spot. I don't think the market's huge for him.
Yeah. This is
he just turned 30 a few days ago. The bat's already appearing to slow down. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him.
Yeah. So John's asking us, what do we think of the Angels keeping on being the dumpster fire they are? If they're 20 out at the break, like they are every year, and Trout is healthy for a change, does he get traded?
I don't know if I'd say that the free agency has been really quiet for them. I mean, they've made some moves. They brought in Darno, they brought in Soler, not from free agency, but from a trade.
Kyle Hendricks.
Brought in Kyle Hendricks. Again, not a guy who moves the needle a lot, but a guy who chews up a ton of innings and gets outs. I think that's a young team. You've got a lot of talent there. You got Ohapi and Moniak, and you've got a good group there. I read somewhere today that Ward might be on the trade block.
Yes.
And I was like, interesting. I think with Trout, I will preface this all.
They got Yusei Kikuchi too.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, Kikuchi. That's the other guy I couldn't think of.
And Kevin Newman from the Diamondbacks.
Well, don't forget about Kevin Newman. That's going to move. That's going to change everything.
Dude, I'm telling you, that kid, I love that guy. He's a spark plug.
He is, and he's very much underrated. So I mean, I look at the Angels have made some smart moves this offseason. If Trout is healthy, that's a better team than I think people think right now.
But he's not. I hate to say this.
But keep in mind, this is a guy who hit 40 home runs in 120 games. Like, if Trout is healthy and he gives you 120, 130 games, which is a good outcome, that's probably a better team than a lot of us think it is right now. And I don't think they're done. I think the Angels are going to go dumpster diving at the end of this free agency and pick up some guys who are still looking for a job late in the winter and might surprise us. Yeah. But if the Angels are smart and they manage Trout and they get him the hell out of center field and you get him some DH at bats and you protect his body a little bit, save him from himself, you could get more out of him. And with the team they put around him, Darno, Soler, all those young hitters who are finally starting to come around, you get Sandoval back at some point during the season, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't think they're as bad as we think they are. I actually think that's a decent team.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I am starting to put Mike Trout in the Jacob deGrom category.
Oh, as you should.
I don't think you can't build your team around the guy you gave the $400 million contract to. As much as you want to, you can't do it anymore. You have to almost build your team as if Mike Trout's not there. And then if he does come back and is able to play for a substantial amount of time, then obviously you find a place for Mike freaking Trout. But he just can't stay on the field, and it sucks. He's in our list of the biggest what ifs, right?
Yep.
Him, Griffey, deGrom. We have an ongoing list of what ifs. I do like what the Angels have done because they have made themselves better. And I mean, Kikuchi's not a slam dunk signing. It's not like a flashy signing. Hendricks definitely isn't. The dude throws 68, can't break a pane of glass, but he gets.
He's the right-handed Rich Hill, man. The right-handed Dick Mountain.
Exactly. So I don't know. Like I said, the AL West is wide open. I wouldn't count them out until they're out, which is such a cop-out way to say something. But
Trout in 2021 played 36 games. 2022 he played 119 and hit 40 and drove in 80. 6.2 WAR. He was more valuable than friggin' Juan Soto, and Juan played the whole season. 2023 he played 82 games. 2024 he played 29 games.
Yeah.
So you're what, 110, 230. He's played basically 2 seasons out of the last 4 in terms of games played. Yeah, I mean, he's in that category of Jacob deGrom. And the hard part too is that he's going to turn 34 during the season next year. So we're beginning to see what likely is going to be his descent. Yeah. But if the Angels can find a way to manage him a little bit better, more at bats at DH, maybe put him in left or right. Like we talked about, you have to do the load management like they do in the NBA. You have to treat Mike Trout that way. He might be a couple games in the outfield, a game at DH, and a day off.
Yeah.
You've got to manage him to try to keep him healthy. If they can do that and you can get 120, 130 games out of him, he could still be an MVP.
Yeah.
But you're running out of time to keep playing this game.
Yeah. Yeah. You can always count out the Angels. I mean,
fair.
Yeah.
And John makes the point that I was kind of getting at. Like, you have to protect him from himself.
Yeah. Trout
is 100 miles an hour every play. Torn meniscuses, those happen from overuse of your knees. Why is he doing that? Because the guy's running like hell into the wall every single time.
And he's got a degenerative back disease.
Right. Like Mike Trout has one speed. Like you've got to be able to tell Trout, hey, it's okay if you hit a pop fly to jog instead of sprint to first. Like, it's all right.
Right.
We don't want you messing up your knee over a infield pop fly. But they have to manage him in a way to keep him healthy and protect him from himself.
Yeah. But
his bat as a DH is a hell of a lot more valuable than him banged up in center field.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the thing that I still can't quite wrap my mind around. Arguably the best 2 baseball players of this era, of this generation, whatever time frame you want to put in there, they had the 2 best to do it. Yeah. And they weren't even close to the playoffs. Mike Trout has seen 1 playoff series. I think it might have been a wild card game. He went 0 for 3 or 1 for 11 or something like that in the series.
Wasn't terrible.
A lot. It's sad. That's what it is. It's sad. But
it is. And it was a bad combo. And keep in mind, Trout missed some time in that window. Ohtani missed a whole year to Tommy John.
Yeah, a lot of things happened.
There's a lot went on there. But yeah, you had arguably 2, not even like generational talents, like historical talents, and you didn't do anything with it.
Yeah. Yanks trading Clark Schmidt for Bellinger. So I just pulled it up. I didn't see anything, but the money for Bellinger is the biggest snag for the Yankees. Bellinger's set to make, what is it? Just had it. 27.5 and 25, 25 million and 26, and then has an opt-out after the 25 season. And the Yankees want the Cubs to pretty much eat it, which I don't blame them.
Yeah, and the Yankees were trying to put Stroman into that deal and Trevino into that deal, and the Cubs balked at that. They're like, we don't want your trash. And from the Yankees, I'm thinking, well, I'm just taking your trash, so let's just trade trash for trash here.
Right.
But it sounds like the 2 are aggressively talking about a trade, trying to put the pieces together. They've not yet put a package together that makes sense, but they're, as of a few hours ago, they're still talking about what packages are available.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is sad too. They're doing to Trout what the Mariners did to Felix, just wasted his career.
Oh my goodness, Felix Hernandez, it's so sad what happened to him.
Yeah, he was so freaking dominant.
Oh my
crazy.
goodness, but he was surrounded by trash.
Yeah,
that the roster was trash.
Yeah, but man, oh man, anything else? I think we've covered a pretty big chunk of it. I'm sure as soon as we get off, there's going to be 5 people that sign because that's how it goes. But
yeah, inevitably, I'm sure that the news is just going to keep breaking. And I think, as we saw last year with Ohtani, we saw it again this year with Soto. Once the big domino falls, things start happening. Teams start reacting. They go into plan B mode. Stuff came fast and furious there for a little bit.
Yeah. We've talked on Gleyber Torres is another one that's interesting. Don't know where he kind of fits. Ha-Sung Kim is reportedly talking to the Tigers, but
really, I mean, he probably doesn't fit into the Red Sox plans anymore. But I always wanted to see him come to Boston.
Yep. Carlos Estevez is out there. He's a nice closer piece for some team.
There's still a lot of free agents out there.
Yep.
And there's a lot of guys looking for jobs.
Max Scherzer rumored to the Phillies, I think.
Yeah, they're looking at him as a potential 5th starter.
And then, I mean, not another big one, but Jock Peterson. Who's he going to go DH for this year?
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, Kevin Pillar, who said he's going to come back. He's out there. Kike Hernandez is a free agent.
Yeah.
Nice, I'm going down the list. There's JD Martinez is a free agent again. Andrew McCutchen is a free agent. Eloy Jimenez is a free agent.
Yeah, but that dude's made of glass.
He is, but I mean, is he going to get a shot? Justin Verlander at 42 wants to keep pitching. Charlie Morton's 212. He's available. One guy that there's been nothing on is Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw's been very quiet as well.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, I think he's going to sign a 2-month contract with the Dodgers so he can get his 41 strikeouts, get to 3,000, and call it a career. I don't. Unless he just straight up retires and just calls it a career.
Yeah. I mean, Jose Urquidy's a free agent, but coming off injury.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely still a lot of, I wouldn't say key free agents. I mean, there's still some key free agents, but there's a lot of nice pieces that teams could get and fill some holes that they have.
There are.
And make them competitive.
Whit Merrifield's out there. Jorge Polanco's out there. Brendan Rodgers is out there. You've got Josh Bell, Ty France, Patrick Wisdom, Anthony Rizzo. Oh, your boy Joey Gallo's still out there. Paul Goldschmidt. As bad a year as Paul Goldschmidt had, he was still a 4.4 WAR player. Carlos Santana at 39 is a free agent.
Yeah. The first base market is weird to me.
It is.
Because what teams need a first baseman? Like Yankees?
Yankees, Diamondbacks.
Do the Astros need a first baseman? I mean, it
depends on if they think they're going to go with the young guys or not.
I mean, Mariners just need bats, so they probably need one.
The Mariners should sign half of this list and just see who sticks.
The Pirates need one because they cut their first baseman 4 at-bats before his bonus.
The Twins need one because Santana's out here.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a
market.
Jobs to be had, but
there's a market. The Mets need one.
Yep. Yeah. I still think Alonso goes back. I don't see him going anywhere else, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there's enough players out here that I think what you're going to see is you'll see another wave go, and then you're going to see the rest of the league kind of go dumpster diving on the guys that are left that are on the periphery. Yeah. And that's when teams like the Mariners are going to get involved. The Reds will probably make some moves. That's when those teams will get involved because now you can kind of go bargain shopping.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. All right.
But
Anything else? Anything else that is eating at you to get out concerning free agency?
No, I think we're going to see another wave of activity. And then I think you're going to see it go quiet for a couple weeks during the holidays. Then I think you're going to see January pick back up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from years past, we've either seen this time be absolutely dead until after Christmas, or it's been absolutely chaos because they wanted to get it done before Christmas. So,
Right.
I mean, like I said, reports were saying earlier today that Bregman was close to signing, didn't end up signing tonight. So we still don't know, maybe tomorrow morning. But if I hope there is another wave, so we have something to talk about on Monday.
Yep.
But yeah.
Well, and one thing to point out too is that the Rule 5 draft just wrapped up.
Yeah.
A lot of players changing hands there. Most players you don't know who they are.
Right.
So, some that are guys that have experience. But that always is a way of moving some chips around.
Yeah. So interesting stuff there. But
yeah, I think
all right.
I'm hopeful that we're going to see some activity here. Another wave.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for commenting tonight, guys. We love the back and forth on these random nights that we pop in here and good free agent talk, and we love the interaction. So keep coming back even during our shows on Monday nights. We love all the comments that you guys send us. So before you go, if you haven't already, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. You can follow on Instagram. Can also subscribe on Rumble. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be on at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday. Hopefully some news drops this weekend.
But we always reserve the right to jump on just for the hell of it.
Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled. Hit that bell button. Subscribe for sure.
Yeah,
and
keep
we
your
will
eyes on the
see.
page.
Absolutely. We'll see y'all Monday night, if not before.
Awesome. See ya.